I have a bit of a scenario for you to consider. So, what about people that are in a profession? What do you think about some people that might realize that this is not the right thing for them, but it's based on the fact that they don't feel fantastic all the time, or they're maybe under a potential illusion that they're going to find something that instantly strikes this passion inside and they're going to be happy. Like, do you have thoughts on there could be a lot of opportunity where they're sitting right now and they're just not realizing that you can do many things in your current situation, going down
that's a really
similar
good
sort of
use
path,
case.
but you're just not making the most out of it.
There's probably subtypes within that. I notice a lot of people that definitely feel that way, and there's normally kind of like a shiny object syndrome. So shiny object syndrome is just being attracted towards whatever you see. Like you're distracted by any opportunity, like any other thing you could be doing grabs your interest. It's like, I could be doing that, could be doing that. But it's like, but what you're doing now is probably pretty cool, maybe. So I think that a lot of the time people have a main problem they don't see, which is they just can't accept the now. They can't accept the reality that the reality they're in is good. And it's this tendency, it's very common in Western individualistic culture. It's very achievement driven, like you are your achievements, your accomplishments, not just who you are intrinsically as a person. That is valuable. And that's what you measure the success of a life by. And because of that, it's wiring the brain to always look for like where you're not good enough. And how you can have the most impressive sort of achievement. So when you're wired to think that way, you're not appreciating the room you're in. Every room you're in is just about getting to some other room. So you're never actually able to appreciate anything because you're always in a state of looking to just where it's going. And because you're playing that game, coming back to this idea of a compass, you don't have a compass. You're completely seduced by just all the different maps people will offer you. So you're always plotting like, oh, but if I go that way, I could end up there. But how likely would... So say you got a great job, right? You're getting paid a lot. Everyone's jealous of your job. But you're thinking about, should I be doing like this other kind of job? Or should I be starting a business? Or should I go into content? And so you're plotting all these different things, all these different scenarios. It's very taxing. And you're triggered to think about these things because you see someone on LinkedIn, your friend who's doing this. You have a conversation about someone who's doing that. Someone you look up to on Instagram has built a career doing X. And they force you to consider all these scenarios because you don't have a compass. You don't have a north. You probably don't have a clear idea of your MVL. You probably don't have a clear idea of your audience of none. So you don't really know what your internal picture and story is because but there's always something to appreciate about what you're doing now. You talked about it with JB Hi-Fi. I would say even real estate for me. Real estate journey for me has been very awkward, but a lot of love-hate. Sometimes I absolutely loved it. Sometimes I got absolute joy out of it. And sometimes after I'd been like thinking, should I be doing something else? There were also really small kind of tender moments I was actually able to really appreciate. Like meeting people at an open home Saturday inspection on the weekend. While it was always annoying to kind of spend Saturday working in that, it was also like really beautiful opportunity to meet this random passers-by and just get a window into their life. Because when they're moving property, there's a life stage that's changing. Like we've had a new baby, or I've gotten divorced, or, I'm moving for work, or I'm coming down to Sydney. I genuinely really enjoyed those very just human, everyday interactions. I feel lucky that I actually am someone who was able to appreciate that, even though I am a very, say, ambitious, driven person who would love to, do, crazy things and have big adventures in the world. I was still actually able to like enjoy those small moments. It really gives me a lot of pride because that way it's really good. Protects you against the risk of like, not really getting joy out of your life because you could end up anywhere. And so it's always good to make the best of the situation you're in because you will always be in a situation where you could be doing something else. So that's like being able to appreciate where you're at. But then if you flip the coin you got the other principle I love, which is I only do what only I can do. Which is if you really want to like make the most of what you can contribute to the world and kind of really feel at peace with what you're doing, I found it a really good filter to use that I only do what only I can do, because that forces you to think about your uniqueness and lean into it, which makes you even more unique, which makes you even more special. You know, there's certainly only one Joe Wehbe, there's certainly only one Scott McEwen, for example, and there's certainly only one Luke Smith. And the more I guess you get to lean, but normally it has some sort of risk involved that is a bit unusual. Whereas a risk that's unusual to take. Whereas everyone who's going down a path that might be more conventional, they are taking risks. They're just other risks that everyone else is taking. Like if you're going to be really kind of like because I'm not a 9-to-5 basher, but the risks are that you won't have, you know, something that can probably compound in every meaningful way, like financially, relationships and learning, right? Because if you're not at the forefront of taking big challenges and big kind of business or whatever it is, projects and autonomy and that. So there are other risks there, but they're the risks that kind of everyone else is taking too. The more you want to do the I only do what only I can do, the more likely you are to be taking risks that scare other people. Therefore, they often can provide a bit of resistance to you. Like, is that really realistic what you're planning to do? Is that really... So if you are genuinely in a place where you're not maybe doing the best thing you could be doing, and it's normally not a shiny object, it's normally something you've been thinking about for a while, that's been itching at you for a while, then I think a lot of it is building up the confidence to actually just be able to accept that and to make a change. But I think, yeah, surrounding yourself with the right people who are also doing that is probably a really key part of that. Sorry, that was a long answer, but it was a good question. It was a good question.
No. It was, yeah. So I think potentially, if you let time pass in that current situation, and you're thinking about where am I going, is there opportunity moving forward, can I grow, all those sort of things, and you feel like if you've given it time, say 3 months, for example, and it doesn't look like there's a path forward, then potentially, but you got to give it a little bit of time.
If you can't first master the art of appreciating what you can about a situation, I'd cultivate that skill first. Because it's simple, because it doesn't require you to change like logistics about life, like where you're getting pay from, where you live or anything like that. It's always fucking easier, right? So I'd probably start there. I didn't even think about it during my real estate journey, but because when you go to X other place,
because
mate, I do self-directed stuff now, and I still have moments of, should I be doing this in this way, or should I be doing it more down that path? Should I be more doubling down on content or whatever and writing versus building the community, or should I just be writing all the time and getting other people to do the community and just inspiring them? Or there's still like a million ways, and there's a million things I could doubt on, and that still happens. So it's just like the nature of it. And I can always be looking at someone else going, damn, I'm not where they are. Whereas a lot of people, I imagine maybe a lot of people look at me and go, damn, I'm not where Joe is. And that's the freaking game. That's very Rene Girard. So I would first think about like, all right, you got to be able to appreciate something about where you're at. That doesn't mean that you're making excuses for staying there, but just being able to appreciate, like, it's kind of like having a rotten mum or dad, but still being able to appreciate. But, not that it gets them off the hook, but they did do this for me. Like, if you can't appreciate things, that's a problem, because you'll always have to appreciate things about where you're at. There'll always be something that's lacking. A lot of the time they're looking, you said in your question, they're looking for this thing that strikes passion, like a magical thing. And you look for that when you feel incomplete, or you've just built up this expectation of it.